is building.
Yeah.
A movement of people who are committed to justice. A movement of people who are committed to fairness and committed to elevating the voices in our community that for too long have been silenced.
Environmental groups from Arizona, Massachusetts, and D.C. came to share their local battles with data centers in their communities and how they can be harmed by their presence.
Data centers are often situated in Black neighborhoods already burdened by socioeconomic disadvantages, and they contribute to rising levels of air pollution.
The Mid-South has become the center of the data center debate, with XAI expanding their operations with a second data center in Whitehaven, and Google recently announcing 5 new data centers coming to West Memphis. That's why national leaders with the NAACP are bringing the fight to the Bluff City, calling on legislators to create new guidelines for tech companies.
What we just saw is people standing up for their rights, for what's being built in their community. But this fight really isn't about just one project or just one data center. It's about the infrastructure that already decided who has the power over those communities. Dr. Robert is known as the father of environmental justice. He's spent over 40 years proving that these patterns exist. He's been able to show us that race is one of the strongest indicators of where these type of industries will develop and where they'll be placed.
Phils, how many of those 7 were in African-American neighborhoods?
Well, what I discovered from the 30s up until 1978, that 5 out of 5 of the city-owned landfills were in Black neighborhoods. 6 out of 8 of the city-owned incinerators were in Black neighborhoods, and 3 out of 4 of the privately owned landfills were in Black neighborhoods, even though Blacks only made up 25% of the population during that period of time. And this is in a city that's the 4th largest city, in a city that doesn't have zoning. So somebody was making these decisions, and what we found is that it was not random. Everybody produces garbage, but everybody doesn't have to live next to the landfill. And it was not just a poverty thing. The subject of the lawsuit, Bean versus Southwestern Waste Management Corporation, was a middle-class Black neighborhood of homeowners. 85% of the people own their homes. And so it was not a poverty pocket. It was not a ghetto. This was a solid middle-class neighborhood of houses and people and trees.
Racial makeup of that city council?
All white.
All 7?
All 7.
Yeah.
So you get this whole idea of environmental justice also means having access to decisions that are being made and making sure that it's access, and that no one segment of our city or county or region should be making decisions for other people. And so the idea that this was a policy of not having individuals on that city council in that room saying, well, let's not just put all the landfills or the incinerators or the garbage dump in this one area. And so it's a matter of equity, a matter of fairness, and a matter of civil rights.
When I say infrastructure, I'm talking about the systems that decided where we could live and what resources we had access to. I go deeper into the meaning of social infrastructure in my upcoming book. But generations ago, this country decided where we could exist through the sundown infrastructure. We were placed in the neighborhoods, and we didn't get to freely choose where we ended up. The placement of the data centers can be traced to the sundown infrastructure. Boundaries were drawn and our resources were limited. Then our mobility was controlled. And as environmental justice scholar Dr. Beverly Wright shows us, once communities are segregated and under-resourced, they become the easiest places to put things that no one else wants to see or smell.
Most people, when I began working, didn't think of environmental discrimination. How do you discriminate against people in the air that they breathe? I am Dr. Beverly Wright, founding executive director of the Deep South Center for Environmental Justice in New Orleans, Louisiana. The center is dedicated to improving the lives of children and families who, on an everyday basis, deal with environmental pollution and harm. We got into this work because communities felt that they were being harmed and they had strange cancers, they had rare cancers, they had nosebleeds at night, waking up, throwing up, horrible smells, vegetation dying. All of their small backyard gardens, nothing would grow. If something did grow, it was on the opposite side of being downwind from the plants, chemical plants in the corridor. So what we did was mapped where those facilities were in relation to communities by race and income. And lo and behold, what we found was what our eyes told us we would find. And that was that African Americans live closer to these facilities than their white counterparts. The things that are happening and shifting at this moment based upon the research that we have been able to provide in combination with university professors and other professionals and communities is amazing. All over the country, whatever the quote despised minority is for that particular geographic region, you will find that everything that is risky and dirty and noxious ends up in communities of people of color.
If we look back, we were forced into these neighborhoods and then we made them thrive. Then highways would be built that cut through our neighborhoods for white people to come back to the city after white flight. I go into this in my upcoming book, but factories and dumps were built next to our communities, polluting our air, polluting our land, and now data centers. People in these communities rightfully have concerns about these new centers. Companies like XAI are growing quickly, and they use an insane amount of electricity and huge amounts of water.
No secret deals! No secret deals!
They came to Lansing to protest data centers and call for transparency when it comes to negotiations between local governments and tech companies looking to build them.
Environmental racism on all levels, not only. They're draining millions of gallons of water a day. When the water runs out, we need water. There's nothing we can do without that. This is about $147 million. There's so many other ways that we can do this besides polluting the black community and all South Park.
To oppose these data centers, yet none of these politicians are. They want to build this million-square-foot data center right next to school, right next to our neighborhoods. They're getting $300 billion in subsidies.
Let's just say this. We protested the data centers. We already told you guys how we felt about it. I'll be dang on if you guys have us paying for the utility bills of a data center that we never wanted. Because you always put things in our communities that we never asked for, that we never wanted. And it is shameful.
I'm very upset. Very upset. My bill went from $300.
So systems set in place a few generations ago helps people like Elon Musk layer on inequalities in our communities. For many of us, we can't afford to move out of these communities that we were forced into in the first place, and we've been dealing with injustice for many generations in these same communities. We built up our communities, but those in power decided a long time ago that innovation won't erase inequality. This is documented throughout history. Listen, we can't fix what's happening today if we don't understand what built it. And what built it is infrastructure. So I put together a free guide that walks you through these patterns step by step. And you can actually see this infrastructure. Go grab that. The link will be pinned in the comments. So until next time, let's learn.